And here's the other secret. We were an ingredient house.
Mm-hmm.
I only bought the ingredients to make the meals. We didn't buy granola bars. I didn't buy fruit flavored syrup for pancakes. That was a splurge. We couldn't afford that.
Right.
I didn't buy popcorn. I didn't buy fruit snacks. I would make my own granola because I was like, who can afford to buy granola? But oats are cheap. I made everything from scratch. I didn't buy bread. I made bread. I didn't buy lasagna noodles. I made lasagna noodles.
My name is Lisa, mother of 8 and creator of the blog and YouTube channel Farmhouse on Boone. On this podcast, I like to talk about simplifying your life so you can live out your priorities. I help you learn how to cook from scratch and decorate on a budget through this podcast and my courses, Simple Sourdough and the Simple Sewing series. I also help people reach their goals from home through my business course, YouTube Success Academy. I will leave links to these resources in the show notes and description box below. Now let's get into the show. Welcome back to the Simple Farmhouse Life podcast. Today, we're going to talk about grocery budgets and staying on track, especially right now when everything can feel and is more expensive, how to still stay within a budget, nourish your family, and not also be a perfectionist about it. I think this is a great topic because a lot of us feel like, okay, well, if I don't do everything absolutely perfectly, which is going to cost me, 10x my grocery budget, then my family can't live like a healthy life. So I think that's an important thing to dive in. And I can't think of a better person to talk about that with than Christine from Frugal Fit Mom. So let's dive in. All right, Christine, so glad to have you back on. I had several people recommend you when I was talking about doing a grocery episode where we dive into saving money because that's on everybody's mind with groceries right now. And you're the person, Christine of Frugal Fit Mom. So tell us a bit about yourself and your channel. You've been on here before, and you also have your own podcast.
I do, yes. So I have one skill, and it's shopping for really cheap. That's the one thing that I'm good at. So I just, picked up a camera and started making videos, and it resonated with some people. Isn't it interesting that this topic has been a hot topic since 2020?
Well, pretty much, probably forever, but yeah, even more so since 2020, because since 2020, we've been on this very bad trajectory.
And I kept thinking it has to go down. I keep thinking that. And then here in 2025, I'm like,
more than ever.
I've been wrong a lot.
Yeah. Well, I feel the same way about sourdough because sourdough is my niche and it went nuts in 2020, but it hasn't stopped. It just kept going. And so that's been very weird.
It's bigger now than it was in 2020.
Much bigger.
You didn't think that was going to happen, right? But it did.
No, I thought for sure. And I still think at any moment, it's all just going to, people are just going to get over it. But so far, so good. But that's probably because they're trying to save money on groceries, and that's a really cheap and easy staple. So yeah, you share over at Frugal Fit Mom. I noticed one of your recent videos is cheap items to hoard, how to stockpile.
Yeah.
So that seems like a good topic.
Yeah. It's basically just making sure you have a pantry that's full of shelf stable items where you can whip up some basic things without having to hit up the grocery store. I think our biggest downfall at the grocery store, one of them, there's a lot, is being like, oh, I don't have fill in the blank, so I got to run over. And every time you step foot in the grocery store, you're spending more than if you had just done one shop for the week or once for 2 weeks. And so having a really nice built out pantry, especially when there are sales on things that don't go bad, will save you money in the long run.
Yeah. So I know you don't, last time I talked to you anyways, this was a while ago, but you don't do grocery pickup or Instacart or anything like that. Do you feel like that in some ways could help people to not buy those impulse purchases? Or do you have your list narrowed down? I'm not buying anything beyond that.
So here's the problem with that is Instacart is more expensive.
Yeah. Instacart you told me that. And so I've actually pretty much exclusively for the last several years switched to Walmart
Yes,
Plus.
that's a better option.
They don't add.
That's a better option.
Yeah.
They're much less expensive. I think there are a couple of other stores that do the delivery stuff like Walmart Plus. I don't live in an area that has a ton of them. So I only have one store that does Instacart, and it's Albertsons, which is more expensive anyway. And then I don't get any of the sales.
Yeah.
So every time I've tried to work around the Instacart thing because I do research for my channel, is it possible to use this feature and save money? It never, ever is. It's almost double the cost.
For Instacart? What's the reason?
Oh, yeah.
And maybe it's regional because we have Aldi, which I know you think's pretty cool. You got to check it out in Florida that time. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the only thing I would Instacart would be Aldi, which is very economical, but just with the charge of adding like a little percent to each item, or is there like, have you looked into other areas and it may be cheaper, or is it pretty much across the board?
Like I said, I've never tried it with Aldi when I've been in an area that has Aldi. So I could not speak to that because I don't have that experience.
Yeah.
They do raise the price of every item. So the prices you're seeing on the Instacart shopping site, they're more than you would do anyway. And then you have your Instacart fee, your delivery fee, your tip for the driver, all of it. It's so much extra. I'm really a fan of Walmart pickup because it's the cheapest of the options. If you're not going to go into store, if you have a impulse issue, do Walmart pickup, make your list, don't go into the store, save time by not wandering around looking for stuff. But in doing that, you don't get to pick your own produce, which I'm kind of weird about. Like I really want to pick my own stuff. And I don't love Walmart's produce in general, just as a concept. I don't find that they have great produce. I find it goes bad pretty quickly. So I'm a little picky about that. And you miss out on the clearance and the big sales. Because a store like Walmart and even a store like Aldi, they don't have these sales ads
in it,
where they have super discounted stuff. Because I love to shop the major sales. Get the major sales and leave.
That's a good idea. I will say I went into Walmart once. Like I go in so infrequently, but I went in once in the last couple months and I was like, is chicken actually this cheap? Like I had no idea you could find, it was like this massive tray of chicken. I think it was like $6. It was crazy. I'm like, I've never seen this before.
Seriously, you've never seen that before? I don't buy chicken unless it's under $2 a pound ever.
I mean, like the whole thing was $6.
Yeah,
it was
the
like
whole
this
thing. Yes, that is how I buy chicken.
Okay. Well, tell us about it then, your recent video. And I know you probably can't remember all the things you said on it, but what are some of your items that you always have, like, you're like looking for? If I find this for a good deal, I know it's not going to go bad. I can store it long term. I'm going to stock up as much as possible if I see it.
So I don't want people to buy things just because I buy them. I buy the things that I use. So I'm always looking for flour, sugar, rice. We go through rice like crazy people. We eat rice all the time, like 3-4 days a week. Rice is part of our dinner.
Okay.
And so I'm always looking for those. And we use evaporated milk a lot. I'm always looking for that. And then I'm always looking for meat because I find that to be pretty expensive in general. And I have a couple of freezers. So if I'm finding my chicken for $1.50 a pound, which I saw yesterday.
Okay.
Like here in 2025, I am still seeing it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go buy it. And then my Kroger store this week here in 2025, they have ground beef for $2.99 a pound this week in their sales ad. $2.99 a pound. When was the last time you saw that price?
I didn't know that was even a thing like in the 90s. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. That's really cheap.
It's really cheap. That is time to stock up. So I'm going to go to Kroger and I'm going to get, like, it's time to buy 20 pounds, 30 pounds.
Right.
Freeze it in the increments that, like, my family is a 2-pound at dinner. So if I bought 30 pounds, that's 15 dinners that I have in the freezer. And then if you like to can, you can can it if you want to do that. You can freeze or meal prep if you want to do that. But that's something I know I'm going to buy in the future. My family definitely eats and uses. And yeah, $2.99 a pound, it's a thing. I'm seeing it today.
Okay. Yeah, we're a big ground beef family as well because you can thaw it out really fast. Like I make sure to keep it in 1 pound, even though we're a 3-pound for a meal family. I keep it in 1 pound increments so I can throw it in hot water and thaw it out. It's really versatile. So I don't think you're going to go wrong getting too much ground beef. I mean, most families, it's going to be fine. So I think a lot of people say, well, I don't have a deep freeze, but you're going to recoup that cost pretty quick if you are finding deals like that.
Yeah. And if your freezer's not full, the things that take up a lot of room in the freezer are going to be like your frozen vegetables take up so much room in the freezer, your ice cream containers. So if you're not buying those, like you're not buying the dino nuggets, we never buy those,
Right.
you'll have room for the rolls. They're not that big. Like
True. No,
25 pounds of dry rice is actually volume wise very small. So it's pretty easy to store. And honestly, this is a little ridiculous. I have 2 freezers and a garage fridge. They were all free.
Okay. Yeah. Just keep your eyes peeled on
They were all
Facebook
given to us.
Put the word out.
Yeah. People are always getting rid of stuff. Your neighbor, someone's replacing their kitchen fridge because it's like 30 years old and the ice maker doesn't work anymore and there's gouges all over it.
Right. Yeah.
Throw that in your garage and use it as an extra source.
Yep. Right, taking a quick break from this episode to tell you about today's sponsor, Azure Standard. I talk about Azure Standard on here all the time because I have used them to stock my fridge, my freezer, my pantry for many years. Long before I had a podcast or a YouTube channel, I found my local Azure drop, went there and watched as they unloaded the truck where I could get my hard white wheat berries that I put through my Nutri-Mill to make homemade bread, raw cheese. I remember getting dates and figs and all these things that I couldn't find locally, but I could find in a high quality organic source from Azure Standard. So it's basically a co-op model. So you and several other people in your community who also prioritize healthy organic ingredients place an order to that drop location. A big truck comes in and unloads all of your items. So you can find a drop location near you by going to Azure, AzureStandard.com. And likely there will be one already established near you because there are Azure Standard drops all over the country. There are several within, I could, within an hour radius, find tons, and I don't have to drive very far at all to get one. So it's very simple and easy. I mean, if they didn't have one in your area, you could also establish one as well. If there are a lot of people with the need to get some of these awesome organic products into an area where maybe you otherwise don't have access to them, which is a lot of small towns all across America, including mine. Azure Standard is offering Simple Farmhouse Life listeners 15% off your first order of $100 or more to a drop location with the code SIMPLE15. So head to AzureStandard.com, AzureStandard.com, and use the code SIMPLE15. Okay, so what are some of your other stock up things that you're always looking for? And I'm curious too. Are you doing do you have a budget per person per month? Is that how you operate your grocery budgets?
I don't, because my goal is as cheap as possible.
I've always said the same exact thing. I've been saying that forever. I'm like, I don't need a budget. I do as cheap as possible. That's my goal.
As cheap as possible. So some months it's $200 still, because I am buying all these things at such cheap prices. So maybe one month it's $500. We're a family of 5 that live in my house right now. So I have 3 teenage boys. They're 13, 15, and 18. And then my husband, they're all very active in sports. And
right. So you probably make almost as much food as I do, even though I have 8 kids, but they're all little.
Right. Yeah.
Still.
I make a lot of food.
But the oldest, you got these teenage boys.
They eat all the time. I think every single one of them eats 2 dinners. Like they eat dinner and then they have sports practice. Because they all do sports, they do competitive gymnastics and track, and then they come home after practice at 8 or 9 p.m. and they're eating again. Mm-hmm. So we do go through quite a bit.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what your question was. Oh, other things.
Oh yeah, sorry. I asked you 2 questions. I asked you what else you stock up on, and then also your grocery budget, but it's as cheap as possible because some months you might find $2.99 ground beef, and so you'll stock up. It's kind of hard to calculate because you might get more than you even need for that month. So then it will roll over, but it's just.
I will get more than I need for that month. Here's what I'll say. A good rule of thumb is a jump off point for people that want to do a calculation is about $150 per month per person. Mm-hmm. That's a start point. And that's leaning on the thrifty side. So if you're a family of 4, that would look like $600 a month. Now, if you live in an expensive area,
Right.
Hawaii, Manhattan, or you have dietary issues, allergies, you have people that are gluten-free or whatever, or you're eating keto or whatever it might be, you probably go up from there. And if you are really pushing the budget, you might go down a little bit.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I guess it does depend on where you're located. And then also, some people are worried about organic and sourcing, and that can really sway the budget because I'm definitely not finding chicken for $1.50 a pound from my local farmer or ground beef for $2.99 a pound from my local farmer. And so that's one of those areas where you have to just figure out, like, do I have the budget for this? And if not, is the stress going to be worth the difference as far as protein for protein, calorie for calorie, right?
Yeah. So if you want to do, I would call it organic, a specialty diet, you are going to spend more. You just will.
Oh, yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's a personal choice that you want to do. I, for the most part, do not do organic except for milk. I do organic milk only. But my kids are older. They're not drinking milk in sippy cups all day anymore.
Right.
So we're doing, like, our milk is $8 a gallon now for the organic, and I do about 2 gallons a week.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm spending $16 a week on organic milk. But
It's
like
not
I said,
moving the needle that much. Like, it's really not that big of a line item.
because the quantity is not huge. But as far as everything else, I don't jump into the organic. If I find it on sale or something, great, I'll do it. But it's not one that I'm like organic only, no matter what. So I am able to save money that way because that one's not a huge deal to me.
Right. Yeah.
Mostly because I've seen the lists of all the things they are allowed to spray organic crops with.
Yeah.
They still spray them a whole lot.
Yeah, that's why I kind of encourage people to more make partnerships with local farms than to just across the board buy the label organic, because it doesn't always mean what you think it means. And you're definitely going to pay for all of the government oversight of organic. So I'm like, unless you want to pay for all of that, maybe find your local farmer. But still, that's going to be a lot more expensive. And, definitely when I saw that tray of $6 chicken, I'm like, I think we're having chicken tonight. Just,
and tomorrow and Saturday.
Yeah.
Buy a couple.
Yes, exactly. So what are some of your other, like, major stock up items? And is there like a limit? Like, okay, I'm going to only get so much. Like, they have this amount, but I'm afraid it'll go bad. Or when do you exercise hesitation on, like, getting too much, or if ever?
I'm not really afraid of things going bad. Dried pantry stable thing, they just don't. Like, your flour, your sugar, your rice, your wheat,
beans, dried beans, canned
dried
stuff.
Beans will be harder to cook after a couple of years. So I might do a year and a half-ish on dried beans. But your canned goods, the date they stamp on those canned goods, it's just some arbitrary number. The FDA website even says as long as the cans are secure and they don't smell or look bad, they're good indefinitely. Like, just use them. So I like to do maybe a 3-month stock, because in 3 months the sale is going to come back. It usually runs on a 3-month cycle.
True.
So I'm trying to stick to that. Also, I do like to maybe take a week and make a meal plan out of what's already in my pantry. And usually if I find things that are pushing their expiration date, I can make a mental note and be like, oh, right, I don't really cook with garbanzo beans that much. Right. Mental note, I'm not buying those again.
Yeah. Yeah. I had this recently happen with lentils, and I'm like, I'm going to make a big pot of lentil soup, but I don't use lentils. Like, I don't use
lentils either.
Yeah. And we can, like, I made the soup and it's good and everything, but, like, they're going to sit in there for 3 years. So I think, like you mentioned, some of the things that you look for very different than what other people might look for. Like you said, evaporated milk. I don't think I even know how to use evaporated milk. So that wouldn't be something that I
use it a lot.
Yeah. Stock up on, or even rice. Like, our carb in our family, and not that we don't like rice, we just don't think of it, is usually potatoes or bread, some kind of grain. And so I'll more quickly stock up on something like that, knowing there's no chance we're going to ever, it's never going to go bad, because we're going to use just nearly infinite quantities of it. I'm with you on, like, sugar. We just have a big bucket of sugar because we make a lot of baked goods, and it goes, if you are baking everything from scratch, it can tend to go pretty quickly. So how do you figure out, like, what your family's going to use. I guess that obviously comes with time, but it also can come from some mistakes, buying too much of something and realizing it happens in the garden too. Like you grow a bunch of something, you're like, we don't like this. We just don't use it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that just comes with experience. Like, keep in mind, I've been a mom for over 20 years.
Right. Yeah.
And so I have 20 years of experience of cooking for my family, and I've kind of figured out what they like and what they don't like. And the thing with teenagers, maybe toddlers also, they change their minds sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So my 15-year-old is like, recently, he's experimenting with what he doesn't like. So just a few days ago, he was like, yeah, I don't think I'm into pizza anymore. And I was like, you don't like pizza? And he was like, not right now. Not right now. I'm not into pizza. And I was like, okay. And then he decided he doesn't love spicy food, which is kind of a new decision. I think he's just, wants to experiment with making his own decisions. And I had some kind of Asian bowl or something, which he normally likes. He loves it when it's salmon, but this was chicken. And he was like, yeah, this flavor profile isn't doing it for me. And I was like,
we're food critics now.
Okay, sure. Of course not.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned salmon, seafood. We recently made salmon for the first, like not the cans. Like we make the canned salmon all the time, but we made fresh salmon, which we never do. And everybody's like, remember when you used to make salmon? It was so good. And so we got it at the store. Everybody loved it. But do you have tips for where to find that? Cause I'm like, man, this is expensive. I think I spent $40 that night on salmon.
You have to get it on sale.
Yeah, you can't just go in there and buy salmon
seafood,
one night.
I'm only buying it when it's on sale, and it is a splurge. So you have to understand that. So what you can do is you can take splurge items and not have that be the main component of the meal. So the meal that I make with salmon is salmon Asian rice bowls.
Okay.
So I cook the salmon, I season it, I cook it in the air fryer, and I flake it all up. Also, I'm pulling all the pin bones out. And then I have a bowl of like flaked cooked salmon. And then we're making bowls. So here's the rice I talked about, right? So it's rice, edamame, so shelled edamame, avocado, and then I make some sauces like I'm going to say it wrong, gochujang sauce, and then like a Korean mayo, some lime juice, and then they put the salmon on top. And so they kind of build their own bowl so that it's not like a huge chunk of salmon. It's some flaked salmon on top of rice, which is cheap. Edamame is not incredibly inexpensive, but it's a ton of protein and it goes a long way. They're so delicious. And then the sauces that I make, and they kind of build the bowl. So I can take the expensive ingredient, the salmon, and then like kind of stretch it into a ton of meals. But I'm only buying salmon if it's like $6.99 a pound or less.
Okay.
Same with shrimp. It's gotta be $6 a pound or less. And they do run those sales. You just have to watch for it.
Okay. So are you getting your ads or wait, you probably don't get ads anymore. It's been a while since I've done this, but I used to, like, the weekly ad would come in the newspaper and I'd like throw the rest of the newspaper aside and just take out the Aldi ad and be like, okay, what are we going to have this week? And I would go and get like stock up, and what we would eat would be whatever was on sale that week. Where are you finding these?
They're all online.
Yeah, I'm sure they are.
So I take 5 minutes. I take 5 minutes every Wednesday. I'm going to pull up my 3 ads that run ads. For me, it's the Kroger store, Albertsons, which I think Safeway owns, or Tom Thumb or something. But in my area, it's Albertsons. And then I have a local store that sells like food club products. So I check those 3. It takes 5 minutes. And I'm not even doing what I'm eating this week. I'm like, what are the stock up prices?
Okay.
This one, this one, this one, this one. So I'm like, it's the ground beef. It's Jimmy Dean sausage is $2.99 a pound this week, which is a stock up price. Like, I use sausage in everything. And trying to remember what else I saw. Asparagus, 99 cents a pound. Guess what we're eating for the next 2 weeks for our veggie? Asparagus.
Now, will you take any of that and blanch it and throw it in the freezer, or just like, okay, 2 weeks from now, there's going to be some other vegetable on sale. We're just going to
2 weeks from now, there will be another vegetable. So just our sides for this week is asparagus. Our snacks, grapes are on sale for $1.50 a pound. We're doing grapes for our fruit. Like, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, that really makes sense. Like, I feel like I just get the same things over and over again, regardless of what's on sale. It's just kind of like, this is what I buy. Whereas I used to more like follow along with, like you're saying, what was on sale and kind of build the meals around that. So how are you meal planning? Because obviously this kind of works in reverse of what a lot of people teach. Like, go to a recipe book, go to Pinterest, write down what you want to make this week, and then go get the things, which is really backwards from how you're talking about it.
You can do both. So at this point of my cooking experience, I do reverse it. So it's just called reverse meal planning, where you take what you already have and build from that. So as an example, I'll have some chicken in the freezer. I got a couple of sad looking bell peppers maybe in the fridge, and an onion. I always have onions. They're always in my fridge.
Always
and I'm like,
onions.
about fajitas for dinner tonight. We'll have some chicken fajitas. Maybe I don't have tortillas. So I'll write tortillas on my shopping list. But what I needed to buy one thing for dinner because I have everything else. So that's the reverse style. However, when I was a newlywed or whatever, and a new mom, I did it the other way. So I went through the recipe books, except I was shopping. This was before Pinterest existed. That's how long ago this was. Like,
hey,
people
same.
didn't have internet in their homes yet. Wireless, not a thing. Netflix just started with the mail DVD.
The DVDs.
Remember?
We got
Yes. And I was like, this Netflix thing feels like a scam. Like, remember that?
This is never going to work.
This is never going to work. That's totally what I thought. Joke's on me.
Yeah.
I did the recipe books, but I was like, chicken's cheap. So I'm going to look through the chicken category and pick that. And then our breakfasts were pretty simple. Oatmeal, I made homemade pancakes or whatever. Never did cereal. Who could afford that?
Right. No, that's always a splurge.
Always a splurge. Like, I never did steak. I never did seafood at the beginning. It was like chicken. Ground beef was pretty inexpensive back then. I would do breakfast for dinner because eggs were really cheap. And I would just go as cheap as possible. You can do it that way. And here's the other secret is we were an ingredient house. I only bought the ingredients to make the meals. We didn't buy granola bars. I didn't buy fruit flavored syrup for pancakes. That was a splurge. We couldn't afford that.
Right.
I didn't buy popcorn. I didn't buy fruit snacks. We didn't buy juice.
Popcorn, we popped it ourselves. That's cheap. But yeah.
Oh, I had really young kids. So like I was like, popcorn's scary.
Oh, well, yeah. My husband
when they were little,
popcorn at night, but yes.
I would make my own granola because I was like, who can afford to buy granola? But oats are cheap.
Oats are cheap. Yeah.
I made everything from scratch. I didn't buy bread. I made bread. I didn't buy lasagna noodles. I made lasagna noodles because it was cheaper.
Now, is it for lasagna noodles? I feel like a lasagna noodles are like $1 a box, but maybe I haven't crunched the numbers.
They're about $1.50. But back then, like, I wouldn't make the dishes that needed cheese because cheese costs too much.
Cheese is expensive.
I was like, I can't make, because I was like, enchiladas cost too much money because of all the cheese. And the $1.50 on the noodles, it doesn't sound like a lot in your head, but I already had flour and eggs and water and salt at my house. So I had everything to make it. And when your grocery budget is only $25 a week, which mine was for a long time, $1.50 is a big percentage.
Yep. It is. And I like the idea of not thinking you need everything. Like, just because some people buy certain things and show their plates on Instagram or YouTube, like you and I might show things now that maybe 20 years ago we didn't necessarily buy. So if steak night isn't in the budget, then you can still find those same macros and quality with ground beef. And so I think that's an important distinction, is like, prioritize the healthy ingredients, are have the same like macro caloric type of, equivalent, and focus more on those things.
I was talking to a girl recently about the steak night. She substituted taking her family out for dinner. They used to do like the whole family go out for dinner. I think she's got 3 or 4 kids. And I guess it would be a nicer place. In my family, the nice place was Red Lobster. Is that what your nice place was when you were a kid? I think they do a nicer place.
We had Red Lobster, but yeah.
We did it once a year around Christmas.
I don't know.
But otherwise, no. So she said it would be about $150 to take her whole family out to eat. And I was like, wow, maybe that is what it costs these days. Who knows? And they decided to do nice dinner at home. So I think they did go and buy steak and some other things, but they made everything at home. And I think it cost $30.
Well, yeah, right.
For the family.
I mean, for our family, when we all have steak, which we do, like we can't afford steak, we couldn't, but we can. But if we're to all have steak, for my size, everybody loves steak. I mean, it's not $30, I can tell you that, but it's still cheaper probably than taking everybody out for burgers and fries, honestly.
Especially if you're going to go to Five Guys. Oh my gosh. Their
Yes,
burgers are $10
we made that mistake
each.
one time. Yes, it's so expensive.
It's so expensive. Their fries are awesome though.
Yeah. Yeah, what's up with that?
They get their
just
fries from Idaho. Thank you very much.
Okay, so that's a real high dollar thing. They got to drive all the way up to Idaho and get those.
No. They ship them. They make their fries fresh in-house and they salt them really
so that's
well.
why the premium. Well, okay, so reverse meal planning. I think that makes a lot of sense. Do you have like any other tips for how to make meals not boring when you're like just shopping for what's on sale? Like the meal you mentioned with the salmon and the sauce, and that sounds like something you've probably done a lot. But to me, I've never done that. So I'm like, okay, I got to get my recipe book out, think about this. Do you try to stick with things that like you make over and over again, but yet jazz them up a little bit seasonally, or how are you doing all that?
So for the salmon bowls, it's like one of those tried and true. Everyone loves it. They're very excited about it. I almost don't even have a recipe. Not really. Not anymore.
Yeah.
Because I've made it so many times. If you're not comfortable in the kitchen, do not be afraid of a sauce packet, a spice blend. Like try them out. Meals do not have to be complicated. They can be a protein, a vegetable, and a carb.
Right.
That's what most restaurants do anyway.
That's what we do. Formula, yeah.
Get a bottle of sauce, throw it on your protein, boom, you're done. I would say to make delicious food, you need two things. Like if you're like, my food sucks and restaurants are better. There's two things restaurants use that you are not using. It is salt and fat.
I always say that same thing. Yep.
It is. You just don't have the cooking skills yet, which is fine. We all have to learn it. Like when I was a college student, when I was trying to learn how to cook, I made tons of flops that I was like, this is disgusting. I actually don't like, fill in the blank. What don't I like? Trying to think.
What don't I like?
I don't like feta cheese.
Oh man, I love it. But yeah, we all have our things.
A lot of people love it. I don't love it. It's just my thing, whatever.
Yeah.
Don't
buy feta cheese.
I tried a bunch of stuff that I was like, this is not the vibe for me. But restaurants use so much salt.
Well, one thing I've been noticing is like, it seems like salt definitely makes your food really good. And I like a plenty of salt, but then like cheaper restaurants, like ones where you're like, this is just one step up from McDonald's. They use too much salt and then they don't add any herbs. Like they don't add anything fresh. It's just like salt. So it's like, okay, you want to even go a step above the restaurants, add plenty of fat, plenty of salt, and then add in freshness, like add in herbs, add in maybe some fresh avocado or just anything like that that's kind of hard for a restaurant to source because it might go bad. That's something that you have the freedom to do at home.
Yeah, for sure. If you're a newbie cook and you're like, my food is bland, you need salt. And if you're like, it tastes one note, like it's missing, the coat on the tongue or like richness, you need fat. And if you're thinking, oh, it feels, maybe I added enough salt, but it's like, it's not hitting, you need acid. There's a documentary and a book called Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat.
Yeah.
And everyone needs to go watch that documentary. You will learn so much about cooking and it's so accurate. Just try it a little bit. Just try it. In college, I made scrambled eggs for my roommates. It was like scrambled eggs and toast. It was nothing. And they were like, these eggs are the best eggs I've ever had. What did you put in it? And I was like, salt and pepper.
And butter.
and cooked it in butter. That's it. That's literally it. And they were like, nom, 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 right? It is that simple.
It is. And then also knowing not to overcook things. Like I'm thinking about eggs, I'm thinking about meat. You can take something that would be good, add tons of salt, but then like cook it till it's just, like eggs just till they're powdery and meat until it's chewy. And you're going to ruin it there too. So that's another place to.
I have all kinds of feelings about people overcooking pork. So I'm not talking about a pork shoulder roast. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like pork chops, a pork tenderloin. Oh my gosh. If you overcook those, you'll be eating shoe leather.
Yes. Yeah.
Like pork is allowed to be the barest little hint of pink in the middle, especially on a tenderloin, not a loin, a tenderloin. I've seen people put a tenderloin in the crock pot and cook it to death. And I'm like, no.
No wonder you don't like your food.
You don't like pork.
No wonder you want to go to restaurants all the time. Yeah, and chicken too. Chicken's another thing that you can really mess up by cooking it too much. I mean, it's edible, but it's not near as good
That's why
if you
I
don't.
love a pork, not pork. That's why I love dark meat on chicken. It's very forgiving.
Yeah, it is more forgiving. Yes. But I like chicken breasts because they're so easy and convenient and I can thaw them out really, really fast. But yes, the flavor isn't quite there as with like dark meat.
I do like the dark meat. There's more fat content. It tastes better.
That's true. The more fat. Yeah, Luke doesn't really even like going to restaurants. We do, like, we'll go out on a date night, but he's like, it's just so much better at home. And it is, because once you learn to cook, like, you know how to jazz it up without having to really, sit there and read a recipe. You know what you're doing.
I can't believe how expensive the restaurants are these days. Don't you think?
Oh yeah. No, yeah. If we even go out for pizza, it's probably the cheapest thing we can do as a family is go out for pizza, but it's real expensive. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd rather not.
No, it's just for us, like going on a date night, if we eat a dinner at home after all the kids are in bed, we have to eat at like 9:00. And so for us to like go and talk, we have to actually go somewhere. And so that's what typically makes us go on a date night. But we're like definitely subpar food while we're here,
Mm-hmm.
It's better at home. But I love that when you learn to cook, and maybe this is just from experience, maybe it's from actually doing research, like reading the book you were just mentioning. You can be intuitive in the kitchen and you don't have to stick to a strict meal plan. You can be well stocked, shop the sales, and know how to throw things together with like an arsenal of meals that you have. Do you have an actual list, or is it just kind of like an ongoing mental list? These are the things we like. This is what I make. I can pull from this really easily.
Yeah, I have a mental list at this point, and that's just from years and years and years of experience. If you don't have 20 years of experience in your pocket, yeah, keep a little notebook or open the notes app on your phone and jot a few things down if your family says that they really like something. So over the years, as I've made a dish and the whole family's like, oh my gosh, this is a keeper, then I'm like, ding. Yes. Okay. Mm-hmm. This is a hit with my family. And then over time, you just learn flavor profiles. You learn what things go well together and what things work with your family. If your family doesn't like Indian food, don't make Indian food. You don't have to just because other people do it. If you don't listen, I know you're the sourdough lady. If people don't like sourdough, you don't
They're crazy.
No,
just kidding.
Well, I like it, but some people don't. It's too tangy.
No, some people don't. Yeah.
So don't force yourself to do it because it's trending right now. If you think avocado toast is stupid, don't buy it and don't make it. Like, you don't have to follow the trends. Have you seen the trend where I guess it's over now, but was like, did you know that if you mix cottage cheese with chocolate powder or whatever,
cottage
you can
cheese
make
is everything now.
Chocolate
mix
mousse.
It with everything. Yeah.
Did you know that if you blend cottage cheese, and I'm like, man, what all
cottage
these things,
cheese.
Cottage cheese is having
I think there must be some cottage cheese board paying for this because it is everywhere. I'm falling for it. We're buying it now.
It's everywhere. I did blend it. I tried it. The cottage cheese pudding thing was not a win in my house. It was like, it was weird. But
yeah, I've heard of that too.
They're like, did you know that if you, mix hard-boiled eggs and cocoa powder, you'll get chocolate mousse? And I'm like, will you though?
Oh my word, we tried that.
How was it?
It was the worst.
It was the worst. They're lying to us, Lisa.
YouTube. Oh no.
Hey, funny story. That? Did you know? No, you probably didn't know this. I'm talking to my sister-in-law who's like big into baking. And I was like, hey, I wanted to try a new sourdough recipe. You said you found one after all these years of trying and hating them all. And she's like, yeah. And I was like, hey, can you send me the recipe? It's yours.
Oh, nice.
Isn't that funny? I was like, oh, I know Lisa.
Yeah, I know her. Yeah, I do. I do a lot of sourdough. And you bake bread as well. That was one of the questions I'm supposed to ask you. How many loaves of bread do you make in a day?
I make 4 loaves in a day.
Okay. So you do like a big bulk day. And how do you do that?
I don't do sourdough.
Oh, okay. You're doing the yeast. Yeah. With like a sandwich loaf? I'm doing yeast
sandwich bread because sourdough takes too long. I love sourdough. It just takes too long. And it's like too much counter time. Like, I don't want to do that. I want to make it and have it be done in a few hours. And then I'm done for several days.
Right. So so how do you store it? Are you putting it in Ziplocs or how are you keeping it fresh?
Yeah. I just make Ziplocs and then that's our bread for the week.
Right.
And they're big. The ones I'm making a French bread. And so it's probably the equivalent of 8 regular loaves.
How many cups of flour per loaf?
The 4 loaves take 12 cups.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
so it's a good amount.
Yeah, that's pretty standard, I feel like, per loaf of bread, but either
they
way.
get big. So there's a good amount of sugar in them. So the yeast have a lot to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like a 4 rise cycle in a humid oven.
Yeah. I think we all get really used to and comfortable with the things that we make all the time. And then we swear by them and I do the exact same thing. I'm like, oh, but it's so much easier if you do it this way. And we all do that because we're like, everything is easy when you've done it a bajillion times in a row and you know exactly how it fits into your life, whatever your own schedule looks like. And you don't have to even think about it twice. And so I think that's why it's so important I tell people, like, master what works for you, master a recipe. If you don't ever want to learn another one, that's fine. But get something that feels as easy as, like, you're not probably pulling out a book or a sheet of paper. Like, you're literally just like making your bread. It's as easy as making oatmeal or, any other thing that people would consider easy becomes easy when you've done it a lot.
And I like this one. So I don't use bread pans. I cook them on cookie sheets. So it's like French loaf bread.
Yeah.
So it's pretty big and long. And I like this one because it's so soft. And I do use vinegar in the dough, which helps. And we rise it a ton of times, which also helps keep it moist. But it's so soft. And then even if it stays in a Ziploc for like 3, 4, 5 days, it doesn't get that kind of grainy. Some sandwich breads will get a little crumbly. This one doesn't do that. It stays soft the whole time. It's great.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think we all just get the things that work for us. And it's like, this is what, we can use for all of our sandwiches. We feel very comfortable with the texture of this. And I think everybody needs to find that recipe for their bread, but then also for like a handful of recipes for the rest of the foods so that we're not overthinking it. I think that's what makes all of this overwhelming is there's just so many options and there's trends and there's, YouTube channels like you and I have where we're all sharing, well, this is what works for us. And you have to take what you see and then adapt it for what would actually work for your family, your schedule, where you live. There's just so many factors.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So what are some of your other go-tos like that you make? And you said you do tons of rice. So you do like a lot of stir fry type stuff.
Actually, no. Well, I guess the Korean little bowls use a lot of rice. Oh, I'm from the South and my mom's from Louisiana. So 2 of the standard dishes I had growing up were gumbo, which is served over rice, and red beans and rice, which is served over rice. And then growing up in the South, we also put our chili over rice.
Okay.
I can't remember if both of my parents grew up with that. My dad kind of grew up in Texas, my mom in Louisiana, and I think they both put their chili on top of rice. And it wasn't until I went to college that I was like, oh, not everybody does that?
No, we do cornbread.
They just eat their chili in a bowl like butter. A psychopath?
Yeah. Not over rice. That's not, I don't know if I've ever done that. Pasta sometimes.
Oh yeah, the Cincinnati chili is like over pasta, but ours has always been over rice. And then,
I mean, it doesn't sound bad. Sounds good. It's just not something I've ever done.
Great. And it's a nice meal extender. Rice is super cheap. And then my husband loves rice pudding. And then, the bowls, like anytime you do beans and rice, like a Mexican style dish, you're using rice. My family loves that. I have a chicken and rice casserole that I make sometimes uses rice. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm always cooking rice and then I'll make a pot of gumbo and I'm like, oh, our leftover rice is gone. Making more rice. I make it a ton.
Yeah. So do you have a rice cooker or you just put it in a pot with a lid?
I just do. Now I've been using the Instant Pot, but I used just a pot on the stove for like 18 years before I got the Instant Pot.
Brown rice, white rice,
wild rice? I prefer white rice.
Okay. Yeah. All right, taking a quick break from this episode to tell you about my course, Simple Sourdough. So I've been educating on sourdough since 2016 on my YouTube channel and on my blog. More recently, I took those years of resources, recipes, how-to instructions, and put them all into one course so that it's all compiled together. You can get it in one place and learn from the very basics. So if you are brand new and you want to learn how to do sourdough the simple way, or even if you want to improve your baking skills, you should check out my course, Simple Sourdough. It's all for a very affordable price. I wanted to get this information into kitchens all across the world. You can learn more and become a student at bit.ly/simple sourdough course. bit.ly/simple sourdough course, all one word, all lowercase. What are some fun things? This is a listener question. When shopping for a large family, what fun things do you include that are budget friendly? Like maybe think back to your early marriage days or even now. I mean, I think you're, very frugal all through your life. So yeah, what are some fun things?
Fun food items?
Yeah, fun food items, if any. You might be
Okay.
like, what's fun? But saving money's fun. Let's make granola.
Saving money is fun. Okay. If you want fun items and you want to save money on your grocery bill, here is your new rule for anyone listening going forward from right now. You cannot buy, quote, fun, unquote, items unless they are on sale.
Okay.
They have to be 50% off. Ice
50%
cream,
off.
50%. Ice cream, cookies, chips.
Where do you find this? I mean, I don't go into the store, so that's probably the reason.
Yeah, that's the reason. If you're not looking at the ads, you won't know. So last week, my local store had Tillamook ice cream, which is, I guess, more local to me. The Tillamook factory.
We have Tillamook,
fairly close
maybe
to
it's on sale where you
I live. Yeah, it was on sale for $2.99 a tub. It's normally $6. So that's 50% off. And that's when you're allowed to buy your ice cream. I see bags of chips for $1.99 a bag, usually around Super Bowl time or like Memorial Day or 4th of July. They do go on sale. But if they're not on sale, you're not buying chips. Like you're just not. You're throwing money in the garbage. So you can have it. Just wait until it goes on sale.
Okay. I guess that's fair.
So I'll buy them. I'll buy them on sale.
Yeah.
But if they're not on sale, no way, Jose.
Right. Well, and like with ice cream, we have such a good local milk source that I'm like, it's so hard for me to buy ice cream because I always have milk at home in abundance. We get 8 gallons a week and, that's plenty to make ice cream like every single day. And so I struggle to buy stuff like that. So like for me and like my family, and I have a daughter that loves being in the kitchen. And so she makes desserts for us every single day. And so this is not all on me, but it's fun to stock up all the things that we need for her to make those fun things.
Homemade ice cream is kind of amazing. If you've never made it, I do have a little ice cream maker. I haven't done it in a bit, but cookies are more my thing. Ice cream's not so much my thing.
Okay.
But okay. I thought of a treat that I've done my kids' whole life. I always have chocolate chips and peanut butter and bananas. So when my kids were really small, they do it now. They get a banana and they coat the whole thing with peanut butter and we do a little chocolate chip sprinkle and we cut it into bites. They love it. Even now, my teenagers love it.
That's very inexpensive.
It's very inexpensive. It's filling. It's fun. It's delicious.
Peanut butter and bananas are very cheap. And I'm sure you probably only buy chocolate chips when they're on sale.
I do really only buy them when they're on sale. I just got a bag from my Kroger store as a valued customer. They gave me a free bag of Nestle chocolate chips.
So they were free.
Booyah. Free.
One of the grocery shopping, you don't do once a month shopping because this was a logistical question on keeping perishable items if you only shop once a month. Dairy, produce, eggs. But
I can't answer that though. So eggs last a really long time.
Eggs,
way longer
don't worry
than
about
you think.
that. Yeah.
Don't worry about that at all. Milk. So I buy organic, which have a very long shelf life.
Right. Because it's ultra pasteurized,
It's ultra pasteurized. So the organic milk will go 2 months or so. You can also buy shelf stable milk. It's not weird. For some reason, people think that's weird. A lot of other countries, Latin countries, only do shelf stable milk. And Dollar Tree sells it.
Well, also, if you're getting it in plastic, so I do get milk from a local farm and it's in glass jars and we just go through that fresh. But then we always want more cream because we're obsessed with that extra fat. And so I get that from Azure Standard and it comes in little plastic jugs or whatever. I put it straight in the freezer and because I buy like 12 at a time, sometimes even 24. And then I just get out like 2 at a time to thaw in the fridge and it keeps really well in the freezer.
Yeah. A lot of the dairy products I'll do like yogurt, cottage cheese. If they're still sealed and you flip them upside down in the fridge, I don't know why they last longer that way, but they do.
That.
Yeah.
Never knew that.
Isn't that weird? It's very bizarre, but it's totally true. I've also found that the yogurts, like the Greek yogurts that I buy, those last past the
I was
date.
going to say yogurt
Easily.
and cottage cheese, those last a month. Like those are not.
Yeah, those are easy. And then if you want to do produce, there's some produce items that just last a long time anyway. I've found
like root vegetables and
all root vegetables, lettuce, citrus. If you keep your avocados in the fridge, they'll last
they like
really,
basically
really long
don't
time.
ripen at all until you get them out.
At all until you take them out of the fridge. And then your ones that don't last as long, tomatoes, berries, probably bananas, just eat those first.
Eat those in the first week or two.
First week or two, and then move on to your other ones. And even most people that shop once a month, they'll do a 2-week produce that goes bad quickly, restock.
Or you could just also have frozen berries and just do like, throw them in your yogurt, throw them in smoothies. You can still, it's totally doable. And I think going into the store less often for some people helps with that impulse buying. So if you don't want to do pickup because of some of the reasons that you mentioned, Christine, you could, still organize it around a monthly thing. Or if you're rural and getting to a store is very difficult, then
there's a lot of stores that do curbside pickup for a very, very small or non-existent fee. So I'm pretty sure Sam's Club does a pickup. So you just put in your Sam's Club order, drive up, load your car, you drive away. Easy money. Like it's just so easy.
Well, and people
Walmart
with
does
little
that.
kids, like there's a value there,
Yes.
Like I wish it was available when I had, probably not when I had my first 2 little kids, because that was like my outing. But I would say when I had 4 kids that were all under whatever age that would be, 6 or 7, that would have been when it would have just really been nice.
Yeah, I remember that. It was so hard to take 4 kids to the store. Mine were 7 and under when I had 4. And it was like baby strapped to me, car seat in the thing, my 2 toddlers sitting in the huge thing from Walmart, the enormous one.
Oh, I will refuse to do those things. They have no like maneuverability.
Yeah, you can't move them. It's a disaster. And the Walmart pickup didn't come out until all of mine were older and in school, but it was so hard that as a parent, I always put my kids to bed relatively early, like 7 p.m.
When they were that age.
When they were that small. And so I would put them to bed, leave my husband in charge, and me and my girlfriend would go shop alone.
We did stuff like that.
It was great.
Yeah, my sister and I were just reminiscing because we had a friend that the 3 of us would get together and we did this. And now we're in such different seasons of life that it just makes no sense at all. We're like, that was so fun.
It was fun. It was so much fun.
Yep. Well, this has been so helpful. So many great tips, things that I'm like, okay, I should implement this. Tell the listeners where they can best find you and find more of your tips and your knowledge, 20 years of, cooking from scratch, knowing how to stock and shop frugally, where they can get all that.
Yeah. I'm just on YouTube at Frugal Fit Mom. You can find me. I have over 1,000 videos from saving money tips, grocery saving tips, and then cooking recipes.
Some archives there.
There's a ton of archives in there. All my breads are in there. My banana bread. This banana bread will help you win friends and influence people. It is the best one. I stand by that bold statement. You won't find a better banana bread recipe than mine. You won't. I promise.
Okay. So for nothing else, head over to Frugal Fit Mom on YouTube. Scroll down. I'm looking. Where's the banana bread?
It's an old one. It's an old, like 2020 maybe. Yeah. Just do the search bar, banana bread. You'll find it.
Gotcha. Okay. If for no other reason, go blow up that Frugal Fit Mom banana bread recipe. All right. Well, Christine, thank you so much.
Oh, thanks, Lisa. It's been fun to chat.
Thanks, as always, for listening to the Simple Farmhouse Life podcast. My husband, Luke, and I and our 8 kids work together side by side on our little homestead and use our blog, podcast, and YouTube channel to reach other homemakers, home cooks, and homesteaders with practical recipes and daily family life. For everyday sourdough recipes, make sure to check out our blog, farmhouseonboone.com. And to dig deeper, we do also offer a course called Simple Sourdough over at bit.ly/farmhouse sourdough course. That's all one word, bit.ly/farmhouse sourdough course. If you're looking to learn how we earn an income online, check out my YouTube course at bit.ly/farmhouse YouTube course, all one word.